that for me says everything. Paranormal, it's reading your thoughts and feelings. It knows you're terrified of it. And it's like, you have nothing to be terrified of. I'm going to go play with you. And it kind of like likes the whole like ego thing. It's kind of funny. So okay, so this is it. We're busting into the contact events. Thanks for everyone's patience. This has been lots of fun just exploring my neighborhood. But now we're going to go into the official contact events and kind of following through the paranormal and UFO activity that occurred for me on my travels. My first contact event happened when I was 16 years old, happened in Coquitlam. And this is where I meet I have childhood contact events, but this is technically where I meet the elder. What I say is where the relationship started. The contact event happens coming home at nighttime, hanging out from friends. It happens on a field, and a V-shaped wingcraft is what I see. This is where I experienced the white room. Coquitlam actually has a fair share of sightings. There's a fascinating, again, I point out the fascinating stuff I found at the UFO BC database. First and foremost, the Portman Bridge is really popular for having UFO activity. I don't understand that. The Portman Bridge is right there. Don't get it, right? Why? Why the Portman Bridge? Why in this area? You know, you got Colony Farms. It is along the water. You got water activity, a lot of water. But why Portman Bridge? I don't know. But I found lots of connections with Portman Bridge in the sightings. A husband and wife witnessed a huge mass of sparkling diamond bright lights moving slowly. I thought that was a really, that would be fascinating to see that. Again, Portman Bridge. This is really fascinating. I wanted to highlight this. And the parking lot of the Staples outlet on Sequoian Drive, close to the Portman Bridge. He's actually over here. There's a commercial area. In Coquitlam, teardrop-shaped object with the thin tail trailing behind. The object suddenly shrank in size to nothing and completely vanished right in midair. Thought that was really fascinating. So, of all the reports I had for Coquitlam, no one had anything like this. This happens right in the exact areas that I have my contact events. So a woman is driving along Como Lake Road at nighttime. I drove a few blocks along Como Lake Road. So she is driving this way. She's coming down the road. That's my contact event, driving along Como Lake Road. And noticed how the traffic was light. In fact, there was no traffic. I thought that was odd. No traffic on Saturday night, 10:30-ish on Como Lake Road. At some point, so she sees an object. At some point, the object came out from the tree line from Mundy Park, approximately. So she sees something coming out over here. So it's coming out and hovered at the end of Como Lake Road and Mariner Way. Do you see how close that is? This is right here. So my object, I had a contact event right here. A V-shaped wingcraft hovered over the houses. She's saying she's seeing something right over here. We're talking less than 100 meters. We're talking tens of meters away from my own craft. She witnessed a craft in 2014. It seemed to be directly over the fire station on Mariner Way. That is right here, by the way. That's the fire station. So she thinks it's right over here. It seemed to be, it had five-ish pulsating red lights in a horizontal position, and below the red lights in a vertical position were about 6 green lights. Together, the red lights and green lights made a half cross formation. Red horizontal and green beneath in a vertical position. At this point, I had driven about halfway down Como Lake Road and didn't understand what I was looking at, and I got a little nervous. At this point, I still can't make out the shape of the object that is supporting the red and green lights, but it is moving up and slowly floating above the fire station. As I drove, somehow the form of the object became discernible. I couldn't see it very well because the body of the object was flat black. I really don't know how I was able to see that. And the object was gigantic. My object was gigantic also. Of course, I'd say it's a V-shaped wingcraft for myself. When I saw the size of the object, I freaked out. By now, I had reached the end of Como Lake Road and turned right onto Mariner Way. So she's here, and she goes down Mariner Way. Well, here's my second contact event right there. So she's headed for Chilco Drive. I decided I would try and follow the object that now appeared to be following the power lines. It stayed low in amongst the trees. It's in the trees through the power lines, then it goes over my second contact event. So this object that this person sees in 2014 is tens of meters away from my first contact event, and then happens to fly directly over top of my second contact event. That is all very, very, very strange for me. So that's the part of the therapy that I talk about here. Like, oh my God, some of these connecting pieces are insane. And you don't get any type of detail like this from any other contact or any other sighting in Coquitlam. So for it to be so detailed, so similar, so close and so exact to the location of my own, I just thought that was all very, very, very strange. So yeah, that's that.
Yeah, also, Jeff, I wanted to just say, it makes you wonder whether there was more to it than just the sighting, as we always say.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe this witness at some stage will have an unpacking of memories and find out that there was more to this sighting than she thought.
Yeah, or maybe someone in the area. Maybe there was a contact event in the area we don't know about.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, you got it. Okay, when I get these memories out, guys, I just tell it as it was, right? As as honest as I could be, as transparent as I could be, not knowing any of the connecting pieces. So I knew I saw a V-shaped winged craft on that field. Well, it wasn't on the field. By the time it had taken me into the clouds, and it was hanging out in the clouds, a V-shaped wing craft. Well, it turned out V-shaped wing crafts had been spotted in the area. So in 2000 in North Vancouver, someone had witnessed a V-shaped wing craft. In 2008 in Chilliwack, someone had witnessed a V-shaped wing craft. And these are the drawings provided on Vancouver UFO BC, sorry. But, okay, a very, very amazing and fascinating connection. So someone observed a V-shaped wing craft, 1997 December or 1998 January. Everybody knowing my story, remember what happens to me at that time? That's the rising. So here I am, and so I always make the connection that the rising was tied to a white room, which I experienced in a V-shaped wing craft. So this sighting, which is well documented on the UFO BC database. This is so well documented, actually. They did lots of interviewing. Checked out all the details. The guys, they went through all the research, confirming, what the person saw that day. And they had all the details that they could generate. They tried to estimate the distance, right? Pretty brilliant, all from just this one sighting of this V-shaped wing craft that happened in December of 1998 or January of December of 1997 or January of 1998. Close to the Patello Bridge that crosses the Fraser River in the city of New Westminster, 7 lights in a V-shaped. Okay, 12 kilometers from me experiencing the rising, did someone witness a V-shaped wing craft that I'm saying occurred, that was me, I'm going through the rising, which was an actual experience from a V-shaped wing craft. Also, we're talking about synchronicities here. The other connecting piece I want to make that I've never said directly in public. What is the most famous sighting of a V-shaped wing craft?
Well, we're talking about the Phoenix lights.
Boom, you got it. Yeah, so this is actually this is from a Reddit. This is the only, go ahead.
And in 1997 as well, March 1997, if I'm not mistaken, March 13th, wasn't it?
Yeah. This is the only known video of the giant V-shaped UFO that flew over Phoenix. So someone actually videoed it, and it's not that great of a video. You can see the definition of the V-shape there. It does get in better resolution. There it is there. Okay, but here's the connecting piece. Why was everyone out? Why did the Phoenix lights happen? Why did so many people see the Phoenix lights? Do you know that, Ian? Do you know what was happening at that time?
I'm not sure if there was some event going on locally or not. What's the story on that?
The Hale-Bopp comet.
Oh right, yeah, I remember the Hale-Bopp comet and going out camping with my friends and my girlfriend and watching that in that time period.
To see the crazy synchronicity for those who shall not be named, chapter 10 of my book, right? The Hale-Bopp comet, the largest sighting. I say that those people had the white room experience because that's some similarities that I thought that were similar to that experience. Here I am saying the rising was connected to the white room experience, all taking place inside a V-shaped wing craft. So for me, that's just a huge synchronicity, a huge part of the insane puzzle of the experience. So yeah, this is my whole thing here, right? I was in a V-shaped wing craft. That's what it looked like. you're not thinking about this stuff, right? I'm just getting the memories out when I was doing it, hypnotic regressions. I'm not recognizing, I'm actually walking on a very, very, very long hallway, and there's consecutive rooms all the way down it, just like it would be if you were in a V-shaped, if you're in one of the angles, one of the wings of the V-shaped wing craft. And there was a hangar at the top, and then the kind of control spaces and medical and the white room in the base. So yeah, totally insane stuff. Also, the connecting piece, the light absorbing black. I kind of said this the first drafts of the book, that the black of the craft was blacker, like the black, like blacker. It's so black it can blend in with the night sky. Well, that's exactly how someone described theirs. Triangle, so black it blended in with the night sky. The object was triangular and very black. Although the day was sunny and clear, the object did not reflect any light and looked like a hole in the sky. These are all consistent with my own experience, looking blacker than black. I just thought, those were very fascinating connections with, this black object that I see. And it was at Vancouver UFO, we actually had the Oregon MUFON director, and he was the one who actually said someone had shined out. So there's a triangle craft over top of a lake, and someone shined their flashlight on it, and it was light absorbing, and you couldn't see, the image or the light of the flashlight on it. And so they confirmed, look, that's Vendetta black. It's actually a type of light absorbing black. So that's all a very fascinating large picture about whatever technology they're using here. This is not black like you'd paint a car black or your TV is black. This is a light absorbing black, a different type of black, and it's a very different experience when you're around it. Yeah.
And Jeff, let me just jump in there and say, there's a very famous case from the Project Blue Book from the 1951 Lubbock, Texas, the famous Lubbock lights. There's even a photograph of that still available, and anyone can search that and look at that case for themselves. It just shows these boomerang-shaped or V-shaped wing craft lit with lights on the leading edges, have been around for a long time and photographed for a long time.
It's really interesting stuff. Yeah. My second contact event, the only thing I wanted to say to that is, so when I say July 1st, 2019 was when I got my memories out. I actually went to Mundy Park, and then I remembered an event that me and my friends had. So this is actually a video of me. I won't play the video. I'll just describe it here, but so this is Mundy Lake right here. And I'm remembering a paranormal event that we had. So, let me show you where that is. So Mundy Lake so we hung out here, right? Me and my friends, and this is Mundy Lake. So again, on the water. And that video, I'm back here. And we were hanging out one night, and we saw a white object on top of the lake. Now it looked like it was white flat. So it looked like the city had built an extension to the dock, or a new dock. And so we didn't think anything of it. We were all hanging out there. We're all chatting with each other. It's dark at nighttime. By the way, I know it's grade 11, right? And so it was around the time I had my first contact event. I can't tell or know when, the distances between these two things, but this was around the same time I had my first contact event. And then so we're all hanging out, and then we turn and look, and it's gone. And we're all like, hey, didn't you guys all see that there's like an object in the water? And everyone was like, yeah, we all saw that. It's the only paranormal. I have so many paranormal events in my adult life. It's the only one when I'm actually having alien contact. It's so, well, except for the one I mentioned in the book, but like the paranormal events while I'm having alien contact are so light. It's so weird, the differences here. And, but I didn't even think of it as paranormal. I didn't really know what to make of it at the time. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let me just mention on that about the light over the lake. Now, I've just been looking at the research that's being done by Dr. Ansbro, Eamon Ansbro. He's an Irish academic, head of an observatory in Ireland, and he's been studying a loch in Ireland, which has got a lot of sightings. Now, he's got, I think he said, multiple sightings of this white light above the water. His opinion is the white light that turns up across the water is actually a portal, that they are actually seeing a portal. So it may not actually be a craft, but a portal that opens and closes, and that may fit in with what's going on in that area. The same sort of thing, a portal above water, and in a like a forested area.
Yeah, man. Yeah, there's I saw someone else mention someone, it was in the States somewhere, and they were using a drone to film like a pond, a small spot like that, and UFOs would come out of it. And so he was trying to get it filmed, and yeah, there's like the missing 411 connecting to water, like paranormal events connecting to water, exactly what you're saying. I even tried to figure that out. Was that what we witnessed? That because ours wasn't lit up, ours was flat. It was a flat white object, but I kept trying to figure, could that have been a portal? Is that what that, like, you don't want to speculate a portal if you don't see anything coming out of it, but it was gone. It was there and then it was gone, and it was just a flat white on top of the water. And if we're dealing with electromagnetic, is that there's got to be some kind of connection here with the water. Portals. I didn't actually do this, by the way. I meant to do this. People, you know, if you're doubters about portals, NASA, this is a great spot to put it. Portals are real, people. Hidden portals in Earth's magnetic field. We're talking electromagnetic, we're talking paranormal. Portals are all part of the picture here. They are real, and they are connected to electromagnetic fields. And credible people have witnessed portals, by the way, too. So the reality that's what we're dealing with, something, some kind of theory like that, Ian, is for me, I would actually say more likely than just a fudging of the mind by a ghost or an alien, right? Like the reality it's something to do with portals, electromagnetic fields, a space where entities or energy or crazy beings or whatever it could be could come out of, could be very likely, yeah. So that's the second contact event. So my first contact event was the White Room. And then everything else afterwards is this kind of development towards this kind of event that we were building up with the aliens. Walnut Grove is where it happened. I never, ever thought of this as close to water until I realized I was going to start looking at it from this angle, and I realized, oh my God, I was in Walnut Grove, and the closest angle I would coming home to water would have been right here. It would have been along this pathway, like the bend of the Fraser River was right there. I had no knowledge, just, you know, not even a couple hundred meters was the Fraser River from my contact event. I had I couldn't even put that together. And so I thought that was really strange. And of course, this area is an absolute UFO hotspot. The biggest hotspots I found from the UFO BC database were actually Burnaby, Surrey, and Langley out here. These areas right here, this kind of U-shaped. Burnaby is where I had my ghost experience, and I thought that was a really interesting connection. There's so many UFO sightings in Burnaby, and then to have my ghost event out there was really weird. Walnut Grove, yeah, so Maple Ridge, Langley, this whole area is ripe with UFO activity. So there's just lists and lists here. I don't go through all of it. I focus on the interesting ones. Oh, this is fascinating. So, okay, you know, my theory, Ian, is that aliens, that they're responding to us. So when we think that they're dark, evil demon creatures, then they kind of want to play with that part. They love that. They almost like love to play with a person's ego. So of all the UFO sightings I have listed here, I have one. There's got to be into the hundreds, if not thousands, in that UFO BC database. I have a single one of a UFO chasing someone. Everything else is docile activity. It's beautiful activity. Sometimes it's almost like they're meditating or something. Who knows? But this one here, it happened in the 60s and the 70s. Well, the guy was chased.
Hey,
yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, no, just finish the point on that.
Yeah.
But I'll come back to you on this as well. This is fascinating.
Totally fascinating. Chased along the Trans-Canada Highway from the Portman Bridge by a fast, silent light through the dense fog all the way to Abbotsford. So the guy literally chased on the highway that I would have passed by me, and but not at the same time. But that's the Portman Bridge there. Bottom line is, he was religious, and he thought of them as demons. And so the thing is chasing him. It's the only one. The guy who thinks that they're demons is the only one getting chased by them. That for me says everything. Paranormal, it's reading your thoughts and feelings. It knows you're terrified of it. And it's like, you have nothing to be terrified of. I'm going to go play with you. And it kind of like likes the whole like ego thing. It's kind of funny. So
yeah, and let me just bring back to the point. We just saw the video that you showed of the red orbs just emerging from a bridge. I'm not sure if that was the same bridge or
Yeah.
So
on.
Again, from a bridge traveling down the river.
Yeah.
So you know that point is the origination of a place near a bridge, but then traveling down the river or the highway.
Great observation, man. It was actually I'm certain they were in North Van. I thought that's what that was, but you're right. It was a bridge, meaning it was over the water. It was over the salt water, the ocean water, these are inlets actually. So not a river, but nonetheless a bridge. And you're totally right about that. There's a lot of bridges here. People see a lot of things around the Burrard Street Bridge. That's really weird. Yeah.
Just before we move on, you mentioned the Fraser Valley. Well, I've got a report here from the July 23rd, 2021. Video, UFO or something else, Fraser Valley's residents speculate on soaring sphere. I'll just put that up there. I'm not sure you can see that at the moment. But
raise it up.
I can't see myself at the moment.
Yeah, okay, I see it. I see enough of it. Yeah,
soaring sphere.
So it's flying.
Yeah,
flying
so that's
really
what it was described as. Over the Fraser Valley in recent days. So it was described as a mysterious translucent orb in the sky, which caught the attention of sky gazers across the Fraser Valley.
Awesome.
So that's another more recent one as well for that area.
Yeah, there's tons, almost too many. Okay, this one's really fascinating. So this is a person, and it's a kid, actually, a teenager. So he felt watched. So he was like trying to catch the bus, and he felt watched, and he noticed a dot way up in the sky. So consciousness to consciousness, individual to individual. And then he was like kind of weirded out by it. So he decided not to catch the bus. He went and sat on a field, and then a small metallic object the size of a CD, 20 meters away, came out of the ground and floated toward the sky. He said it was fluttering, and basically it was moving up and up and up in the sky. He was freaked out by it. He got 2 city workers to view it, and they saw the strange metallic object now high in the sky, and they're all kind of pointing at it. I thought that was a really weird one, and that was out in Langley. This was really fascinating. A man and his wife witnessed a flying football 4 times the size. They appear to be on a farm, and they're witnessing it. They're like on their deck of their farm and their house, and they're witnessing it a kilometer away. And it basically flies. It flies to 10 meters from where they are. So it's moving really fast. The football was flying through the air, completely silent and without any apparent form of propulsion. Took off, and so it went by them, took off directly away from us and toward a tree line at the back of the property. It moved much faster this time. So as it passed by them, it sped up, covering 1,000 meters in 5 seconds. As it flew away, what appeared to be transparent orb, reddish brown in color, periodically flashed around the football. Then it was out of sight. This object can go incredibly fast, and it's incredibly small too, right? A flying football with 4 times the size is only going to be, 2 feet big or something, right? It's like not huge at all.
And Jeff, this is often cited as well alongside vehicles and chases them. The famous case in England, in Wales, actually, the Welsh Triangle of Pauline Coombs being chased by this object that paced her car alongside in the Welsh countryside, leading up to a whole series of UFO events that she experienced. But again, It started off with a small ball of light that paced her car as she drove down those Welsh country lanes.
Interesting. Oh, I love this one. Floating garbage can. Who would have thought? A floating garbage can, right? So on 2003 in Langley, this object was like a floating garbage can standing vertically. It floated slowly, but against the prevailing wind. It was not an overly large object. I would estimate it about 500 feet, and it progressed slowly until out of sight. It was dark metallic color and made no noise and left no vapor trail. So why I highlight that, I'm on the website, I'm making connections. So, okay, this person witnessed this in Langley. So this is where they were. Sorry, back up. So they witnessed it out here in Langley. So another floating garbage can got witnessed out in Stave Lake. So Langley down here, Stave Lake up there, not too far. So this was witnessed by a student pilot and an instructor. So this is what they witnessed, floating in the air. What the hell is it? It kind of looks like a floating garbage can. Now it obviously has a string attached to it. But the pilot basically were flying along Stave Lake, and then they saw it, and they're like, it's moving actually, and it moved quite fast, and moved against the wind as well too. They turned to look at it, and it then disappeared, like just boop, gone, like blip, just not there anymore. And so they were very weirded out by it. And of course, they're pilots, so they're trained observers, and they were able to estimate distances, times, and everything. And so there was a whole, a breakdown of it, but fascinating as hell. And who the hell sees a floating garbage can? And I thought those were 2 very consistent and strange things. Also in Maple Ridge on the website was a UFO causes a citywide power outage. So he was outside barbecuing with a female companion and a 3-year-old child when they saw a small pulsating light approaching. It appeared to be about 2,000 to 3,000 feet above the ground. When the light became stationary, all the lights in Maple Ridge went out. About 10 minutes later, they saw a big white flash and then a meteor light streaking heading in a northwestern direction towards Pitt Lake. At this time, a rushing wind sound could be heard. All the city lights then came back on. There was the wind sound there again too. I thought that was interesting. A call was placed to BC Hydro on the 21st of April, and they confirmed the power failure. They stated that Maple Ridge had a transmission feed loss into a substation, and they had the times there. So that's all in the same area as my contact event. People see tons of triangles.
What was the year of that? What was the year of that one?
1999.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah. So yeah, electrical, right? Electromagnetic. Triangles. Tons of people see triangles, right, in the area of Maple Ridge. We actually had Kelly Buckler on, and Kelly Buckler herself witnessed a triangle out in the area, out in Langley. And so these were all the triangles people witness out there. Triangles, 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 triangles. And then this, it's actually mentioned in my book that someone witnessed a triangle the same time I had my contact event in 1996 in October. And though I can never confirm the exact time, the exact date, and the funny thing is they were never able to confirm the exact day, I know I was in a large object, similar. I don't know that it was a triangle or not either. All I know was that I was in a space that had long hallways. And most of the times when I'm aware I'm in a smaller craft, it's definitely a smaller environment. It doesn't have hallways or the rooms are compact. While this time in my third contact event, I'm walking down hallways, showing me that I'm in a large object. But funny enough, someone sees a triangle around the same time, and it's moving in the direction that mine is towards my contact event. So they see it down here. They see it down here, moving north. And it was like almost bang on with my contact event. There, right above us, was a huge black triangle. It was so low, it must have been just above the tree level. It had what looked like Christmas lights wrapped around its perimeter. The weird thing was that it didn't make any sound at all, absolutely none. It was moving very slow, and it passed over us towards Brookswood. We watched it disappear over the trees at the end of the field. It was very creepy. There was low, heavy fog in the field.
And Jeff, that's an interesting point. The low, heavy fog in the field. I was going to come to that.
Right.
Often, with one of the points that we see with the missing 411 is the sudden change in weather or the weather that changes. Now, it could well be that in order for this to facilitate let's say, its mission of what it had to do, this craft, these aliens, these ETs, they may have had some weather manipulation here to bring on a heavy fog to use that as some sort of cover. Yeah. We know that UFOs are often hiding in clouds and using cloud cover as well. But here we've got the report of the low, heavy fog in the field. So it's actually very specific that it's in the field. And this is just over the trees at treetop level. So again, all of these could, let's say, work to hide the craft from what it's actually doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, no, you're totally bang on with especially with the missing 411. Very interesting that David Pleiss, very smart actually to zero in on that with the reports. And there does seem to be with the consistent paranormal events, you get these weird weather anomalies that show up that hamper the search and rescue. Very weird stuff indeed. So this is the first missing 411 case. Contact event number 4 is out in Tofino. So I was with friends, and again, we're still working with the aliens, and they were developing me at this point. This is the real development that started to occur in the year 1997. So this is where the contact event happens. So the missing 411 case is a bit strange. I actually don't really know what to make of it. It's a child who goes missing. Very sad indeed, but it's very weird. The location is so strange. Actually, just too weird is what it is. The dad and the kid go for an early morning walk, and it's in this beach area here. There's a set of stairs. They go down. He tells the kid to wait. Actually, is what he does. Wait here. And the dad goes and walks around, and he says he looks at his kid. He turns around and does something. He's no more than 30 something feet away from him, and then that is it. He turns back, and the kid is gone. Not just that, the kid is gone forever. There's no sign of him ever again. There's no clothes. There's no nothing. Sad indeed, and very weird. There's actually the news article. Yeah, this is it here. So that's, you can find it yourself. And even the search and rescue are like stumped. There's no sign of him. There was no clothes of him. And when you look at all these details, you look at them yourself, there's hundreds of people that come out looking for this kid. How can you not have a single sign of him? How can you have the dad who was only 30 feet away? How can he be by the staircase and then not even be close to the water at the exact moment? Like even the dad is in front of him to go to the water. Like none of that adds up. And yet it's just mysteriously he vanishes. Nothing shows up, no clothes, no nothing. And that's kind of the end of it. And not even that, even for it to be Sasquatch, like look how close it is to the community. There's so much other forest. It doesn't even make any sense. And, so I don't even have an answer and I don't even know what to think of it. It's really sad. But it happened out in the same particular area as my own contact events. We're in the same, look how far that is. Is that even the same area? I don't even know. It's at that point, we're looking at kilometers and if not 50 or 60 kilometers away, actually. Sad indeed, but doesn't seem really connected. What's really interesting is the amount of stuff that happens at Kennedy Lake. And what's really fascinating is Kennedy Lake has Sasquatch sightings. I'll show you some of those. A massive UFO sighting occurred here. And my own contact event is actually closer to Kennedy Lake than it is to the missing 411 case over there. So I'm not clear if that's what we're looking at as a kind of a geomagnetic area, is this whole Kennedy Lake spot. But check this out. Several kilometers before the Ucluelet turnoff, you have to drive past Kennedy Lake. The road was rather treacherous with steep, winding curves. I know where he is, and I know what he's talking about. He's actually over here, that's where the curves are, and you end up along the cliffside as you come around the lake. The road, as I came around the one corner, I saw this object hovering over the lake. It was huge, seemed to be too bright, glowing lights, maybe joined together. This was gigantic. It seemed like the size of a hotel just sitting there above the lake. There is absolutely nothing in there but wilderness, so could not have been anything other than what it was, a craft from another planet or time. Unfortunately, I was terrified and put my hand to my face to block out the sight as much as possible and still drive. I remember crying and saying over and over, please don't beam me up. When I got back home after the weekend, I went to work at the local station and learned that a UFO was sighted traveling across the lower mainland and Vancouver Island at the exact same night. Very fascinating indeed. Oh, and then we got here. These are the Bigfoot sightings, and they occur around the area of Kennedy Lake. There actually is a Bigfoot database, and they have occurred here. These people do a really good job also. They go in and actually investigate the sighting and what the person mentions. And so you have two of them mentioned here by Kennedy Lake, driving between Port Alberni and Tofino. And they describe it by river, and it kind of had an ape look to it. And so, yeah. Very fascinating, kind of a hot spot is the Kennedy Lake, and my own contact event was closer to Kennedy Lake than it actually was to Tofino. So I thought that was just a really neat and connecting piece there. Contact event number 5. This is where things begin to get really interesting, if it hasn't gotten interesting yet. So this occurs here at Bunsen Lake, right by water. It's under the power lines. And I get dropped off on the other end of Bunsen Lake. Apparently, this generator is haunted. It's well known if you look at famous hauntings in Vancouver. The power generator at Bunsen Lake is haunted. Missing 411 occurs on the other side of Indian Arm. This is the Mount Seymour, 6 of them. If you're looking at a geomagnetic area that has a lot of activity, this is going to be it right here. Deep Cove has sightings, but this whole area, Bunsen Lake, that place is haunted. And then you got UFO activity happening in the Deep Cove area. And you got 6 of the most missing 411 cases of the Vancouver mountains, 6 occurring in Mount Seymour. And some of them are very strange indeed. So Deep Cove, okay, a group of about 10 people were at the west end of Myrtle Park around 8 p.m. So they are over here, Deep Cove, and Myrtle Park is over here. Yeah, right there, Myrtle Park. Waiting for the Halloween fireworks display to start. They watched a big orange ball travel along the mountains toward Deep Cove. When the fireworks started, the orange ball made a right-angled turn and came towards the park. Whenever there was a burst of fireworks, it seemed to respond by changing shape and brightness. The ball stayed in view for about 15 minutes and got as close as 500 feet. A friend of mine went to Burning Man and said, when you're out there, there's tons of UFOs. And I said, well, that's, for me, evidence of like the white room. Like The white room was this kind of like rave, if you will. It was like an alien rave. You're in this like high, heightened delight in state and very joyful. And remember I mentioned the kind of child energy that's associated with the kind of like the paranormal entities. And I say that there's a child energy associated with the gray aliens. And you got some kind of like child play here going on. It's excited by the fireworks, and so it's changing the shape and colors of the craft. It's almost a call and response, and I just thought that was really fascinating. Some honored guests turned up Sunday night for the second day of a long weekend conclave of the psychic phenomenon. So in 1965, a psychic phenomenon was occurring, and there was a whole bunch of bright lights on top of SEYMOUR Mountain and Birch Bay and a bunch of and the Vancouver airport. But that's right here, 1965, and it was in the newspaper. I thought that was really fascinating. This is a police officer with a military background, lived on Blue Ridge area of SEYMOUR Mountain. Through the bathroom window, he observed 3 red and white pulsating cylindrical lights. The sensor alarm in the patio went off. And then one of his dogs outside began to whine. He panicked, tried to wake up his wife, but he couldn't. His wife was asleep like a rag doll. Then his child, 9-month-old child, started giggling. He was terrified. This all happened at 3 a.m. It's all in the area of Mount SEYMOUR. So this police officer kind of had this like really weird experience, and that's mentioned in the database. Okay, so
interesting
yeah.
point there about the child giggling.
Yes. Yeah, everyone's panicking, but the child is giggling. Yeah, you got it.
Again, it's almost like a manipulation of minds to distract and keep the child happy while all this is going on. A bit like that scene in Close Encounters when all the toys start going.
Right. Yes. Everyone else is freaking out, but the child is the one who's like, yeah, finds it like joyful or something. Yeah, I find that really interesting. Okay, so I didn't know about the missing 411, and I had my own experience out here. Actually, you actually have Quarry Rock, and you park your car along a road, Mount SEYMOUR Road, and then you hike down. And I was learning about Sasquatch at the time, and so I was I learned some things about Sasquatch. If I was looking for signs of Sasquatch, is basically what it was, but I was just having fun. I wasn't taking it any seriously. And I heard these big cracking, breaking going on, like something was breaking big sticks in the forest. And I thought, oh, that kind of sounds like a Sasquatch thing. I didn't know what the hell was going on, so I made the call. I did the call, whoop, and I made the whoop noise, and then something back, and I was like, oh, that's really weird. I just you don't know, right? It's a human playing with you. Who knows? And then I went and sat at a bench, and at the bench was this massive peeling of the bark. And that's when I was like, what the hell did that? Because when you're looking for the Bigfoot signatures, you're looking for these kind of signatures that humans can't do, that still don't look natural. Typically, 15, 20 feet up, branches will be broken in a direction, and that's territorial. They're saying, this is my territory, you stay here. And this was at a bench, and it couldn't have been any more an example of territory. But there's no, living here in Vancouver, there's no mention of a Bigfoot in Mount SEYMOUR. No one's ever mentioned that. No one's ever witnessed it, not that I'm aware of. Yet it might explain why the hell there's so many missing 411 cases on Mount SEYMOUR. So very weird stuff has happened up there. It really seems to start in 1953. Arthur, and you got a point of separation. He's working, but also seems to be, as I mentioned previously, seems to be encroaching. So they're building a transmission tower for CBC on the mountain. And then he's working that day. He gets a splitting headache. He leaves. He's never seen again, ever again. But he's got a splitting headache, but the dogs pick up a trail that goes up the mountain, that goes high up the mountain. None of that makes sense. And then the dogs lose the tracks, and then that's it. Even David Pilates is asking, why would someone hike up a mountain who's got a splitting headache? None of that made any sense. Never found again. Michael Bryant and Charlie Musso go missing in the area of Mystery Lake on Mount SEYMOUR, both in the same area. Charlie Musso is the one who sounds like he's caught in another dimension. People can hear him calling for help. You have someone calling for help that no one can find. 2 different parties heard him calling for help. They go in, they look, and he's not in any area. So how can you have someone calling for help that you can't find someone? You go in and looking for them and they're not visible. And then there's no sign of them ever found again. Both of them are casual. They're not doing big hikes. They're going for a day hike that's only a couple kilometers, and then they get lost. They don't even seem to get lost. In both cases, they know the trail. So in both cases, none of that makes any sense. And then to have no sign of them, we're talking hundreds of search and rescue go looking for them, and they're never found again. Stephen Ebby, his head goes missing. His body is found in a creek, and his head is missing. Very disturbing stuff. 150 search and rescues were involved. And then his body was, basically washed down Swift Creek, and it was not considered foul play, even though his head was not found. That's just weird stuff, man. And even David Pilates says, like, how does the hell a head not get found? And how the hell does the head get ripped off? And it's not like he's in a massive river. He's in a creek. Like, these things don't add up, and they keep happening on Mount Seymour. And you had Carl Walter, basically a point of separation. Wife stays behind. Carl goes ahead. That's it. Never found again. And then you have the same with Jared Stanley, who basically goes missing. And this one is interesting because the family, it's hard to know. The family don't know if something mysterious was actually occurred. They do find his body, but it's found in a place that they already searched. So that's another key signature of missing 411 is previously searched. So fascinating stuff, man. I mean, is it fascinating? It's kind of sad, actually, but fascinating in the sense of the paranormal, that it's all occurring in this kind of paranormal hotspot.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in here about Mount Seymour. There's another mysterious case. This is a mysterious case that was posted in December 31st, 2008, where rescue crews rescued a snowboarder who was found after being missing for 3 nights on Mount Seymour. But he says he was not alone. He says that there was another set of tracks that he saw, and so he was interviewed, and he told people he saw another set of tracks on the mountain on a Tuesday afternoon. We have to go back to where we found him. There may be a second subject missing. Well, they searched. They didn't find this other subject, but it was odd that there was this other separate set of tracks where this guy had gone missing for 3 days and then been found. And I don't think they ever found this another person there, and I don't think they ever found out if anyone was missing.
Right.
But that was another mysterious part or aspect to this.
That's great, man. Did you just research that right now? You just found that on the
Well, yeah, I looked it up because here we go. Look, it's a case from Mount Seymour.
Oh yeah,
he was not alone. Now, It's very strange. Perhaps he was followed or with an invisible entity that left tracks. That's my take on this.
Yeah, if that's paranormal, my take would be, again, and the paranormal is reading thoughts and feelings. So for some reason they liked him, if that's the case, and they wanted to, there was some kind of and then they're there, and it's could be like one of these, these bushmen or something, right? Like invisible bushmen, right? Or Sasquatch or something. We have no knowledge, right? But fascinating. That's interesting you found that, man. This mountain is very strange, strange indeed. And even for myself to have a weird experience there, I thought that was really weird. I'll add more, actually. When my memories were coming out, it was actually at Deep Cove that I had that's when when I see the orbs in the sky, I feel like I change a frequency, like something changes in me. I don't really have the answer for it because I don't know it, but I can start to see things in the sky, and then I'll see the orbs. So I feel like kind of shifting, like things like, it's like something is there and then it moves, but I can't quite see it. Deep Cove was the first place I could feel that, or I had that experience. And I was witnessing, I thought I was watching in the sky, tons of activity. Like I kind of like went into like a paranormal state where I tried to feel things, and I could see activity, like tons of it in Deep Cove. And I was actually with my partner on the beach, and we were, a summer day, and I was like, wow, I really feel like lots of stuff that happens in the area of Deep Cove, only to now put all together that there's this kind of huge activity that goes on in this area. So all interconnected and very bizarre, nonetheless.